And welcome back to It's Only Money with financial advisor Scott Brown with EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com. And Tammy is here as well. You can get them at 407-648-1881. And from the last segment, it seems like, Scott, that human behavior seems to affect the market more than anything. Not hard numbers, not facts, just pure human emotion and behavior.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers kind of take care of themselves. Our economy grows. We become more productive, hopefully, as a people and as industrialists or whatever our chosen profession. Our goal as Americans and as capitalists is to become more efficient, do more with less, be faster, quicker, et cetera, et cetera. And we do that pretty darn well as Americans. That's something we're typically pretty good at. But so the point being is that stocks are going to take care of themselves. Companies are going to get better. They're going to die, right? If a company, Kodak is a classic example, right? They dominated photography for years, and somebody said, this whole thing's going digital. They're like, that's stupid. We're not doing that. And now they're gone, right? Mm-hmm. So companies either adapt and get better and more productive, or we get rid of them. It's creative destruction from your old economics textbook, right? So that's what happens. So my point is, you don't have to worry about the S&P 500 or the Dow. Those stocks are going to grow over time. Are they going to go down in between? Yes, they are. We've said that a million times. But over time, anytime you're a long-term period, 10, 20, whatever years, it's kind of hard to lose money historically in those indexes. Where people make the mistakes, and goes back to, I've quoted this Dalbar study many times. Every year there's a company that does a study called Dalbar, and they compare returns of individuals, you and I, to institutions like Harvard's endowment or a pension plan in California or something like that. And the statistics are staggering. Individual investors underperform their institutional counterparts by like 2x. Like they're up 3 or 4% on average, and the institutions are up 7 or 8%. So they're getting their behinds whipped. And the question that begs asking is why? And it's all behavioral, because institutions go into a conversation to design a process like this. Hey, we have this much money in a bucket. We expect to take in this much money. We need to spend money on these things. And whenever I talk to a client, I talk to them about building an endowment. What is your endowment? You have this much money. You're going to save this much money. And when you retire, you're going to do these things. So when Harvard or Yale or MIT or whoever has this conversation, what they say to each other is, we've got to build buildings. We've got to pay teachers. We've got to fund scholarships. We've got to send the football team to wherever. And that costs this. Whatever this X is, we work backwards off that to say we don't need to earn a return that allows us to do that. And if that returns 6% or 7% or 8% or whatever it is, they build a portfolio for that purpose. And then they stick with it. They see it through. They've done the research. They know historically these things work. Maybe that year it doesn't work so great, but over time it will work. The average person, on the other hand, says, I got 10 grand. I want it to be 20.
Yeah.
And tomorrow.
Yeah, that sounds
right.
Great.
And then they put their 10 grand in AMC and it turns into 5 and then they sell it. Right. So I'm not saying that happened to anybody in this room. I'm just saying that that's a thing. So that and
7 grand.
That's what, damn it. So, again, the point being that the average investor does not have a process. They do not have a discipline. All they have is their reflexive brain. And that is what they lean into most of the time. It's why your relatives can't get along at Thanksgiving, is their reflexive, reactive, reptilian brain.
Well, it's just with the stock market, especially when it's become appified and gamified in the way it has, it feels like, especially with like something like AMC, it feels like now I'm not so much investing, but I've bought a lottery ticket, right?
Yes.
And now my AMC stock that I bought at, $7 went up to 17, and I'm like,
genius.
I'm a genius. But then I find out that's not the normal thing by any means.
When's the last time you went to the movies?
At least 3 years.
That's what I thought. So you think that's a viable business?
Well, then you get in your head if you're like, well, look, now they've got all this money, they're going to change their business model, and that's going to produce something. I don't know.
Now the stock's $17, everybody's going to the movies all of a sudden, right? Yeah, so it does, obviously, we can convince ourselves of anything, right? Yeah. I made this decision, clearly I'm a genius. I don't know about you, but I got friends that go to Vegas every year. I'm not a Vegas guy, I don't really get it, but people go. And I have 3 or 4 friends who've never lost money in Vegas, ever. At least that's what they say.
Yeah, I'm going to say you have friends who are liars.
Yeah, exactly. And they're lying to themselves. Like, Scott, I won again. It's like the one guy, it's always $700. He always wins $700. I don't care if he went with $100,000, he won $700. If he went with $700, he won $700. So we can convince ourselves of anything. And we often do. We have to rationalize to kind of get through life. Like, life's kind of tough sometimes, and you got to like, there's a silver lining here somewhere. So we're good at that, but with your money, it just doesn't work very well.
Well, every time, Scott, I don't know if you've seen the new $50 scratch-offs that they have here in Florida.
Those are awesome.
But I go to the gas station, I'm like, that's today, that's mine. Whatever, it's like some crazy number that's on there of what you win, but then I would have to spend $50.
Yeah.
Probably just to lose it because the odds are still like 1 in 4 or 1 in 3. I remember hearing a story about somebody who came into a bunch of money, so they bought scratch-offs, right? They bought like $100,000 in scratch-offs, and they won exactly $25,000 total because those are your odds generally, and it's those weird outlier tickets that make the difference.
So the good news is your odds are 1 in 292 million at winning the Powerball. So, I call it the dumb tax if you want to give your money away. It's not, politicians love the lottery because it's easy, right? It's a cheat for them. They can't balance their budgets, so let's bring in some gambling, let's sell lottery tickets. And the problem with that cheat, in my opinion, is that it disproportionately affects people who don't have the means to do it, because we know that 50% of lottery tickets in the state of Florida are bought by 5% of the population.
What?
And that 5% of the population, because they buy lots of tickets, are the folks who can least afford it. So, you don't see a rich guy standing in line at 7-Eleven with the birth dates of all of his kids trying to buy lottery tickets, right? And that's
never seen that. Now that I'm thinking about that, yeah.
That's also the hilarity of the whole thing, right? Is people stand there, you ever see the woman, she's got the plastic bag, the baggie, and she's got all of her dates and fancy special numbers that have never won anything, and then she gets on her bicycle and rides back to her, what I would assume is not a particularly nice existence. And that's because that preys on those people. That is my personal opinion, is that the lottery preys on people that it shouldn't, by and large.
But now we were talking about the mutual funds earlier and them showing you like how good that one did before. Wouldn't that be a level of that too, though? Isn't that like the lottery ticket, same mentality? But there's just better odds when it... I shouldn't say odds, I suppose. But
no, that's right. I think that's right.
There's just better odds in that than going to a lottery ticket, hands down, correct?
Well, so this is where we get back to the investing and speculation conversation, right? If you're investing, your odds are really good. I think I've explained it to somebody once very poorly, like it's a progressive game of poker where your odds increase every time you play, or a game of blackjack where, you can beat the dealer if you tie them. Or then you can beat the dealer if you only lose by 1. Because over time, the odds get better and better of success. The 1-year periods that you can lose money in, say, the S&P 500, that's like 1 year every 3 or 4 years. You're going to lose money in the S&P. The 5-year periods where you could lose money they're not many. It's probably 20 or 30% of them. The 10-year periods, it's probably 10% of them. And there are almost no 20-year periods where you could lose money, going back to what I said earlier, which is companies become more productive over time or they go away. Therefore, their stock prices increase, right? So if you do it in the short term and you gamify it like Robinhood has done, then yes, you are buying kind of a lottery ticket sort of mentality, a gambling mentality. That is what you're doing. But if you sit down and have a process and a discipline and there are tax implications and you want to produce this much in dividends and you want to retire in 17 years and you're going to save this much, that's different. That's investing. That's a process. That's a discipline. So, yes, to answer your question, yes, it is kind of like a lottery when you buy AMC or you bought GameStop or even you buy any stock that you're day trading. Day trading is a bit of a game as well. And, I don't know one person. I don't know if you do. I've been doing this 35 years. I don't know a single person who can make a living day trading.
Yeah, I know people who've made it for short periods of time.
But why? Because of a bull market.
Yeah.
Right. They confuse a bull market with their own brilliance. Eventually, when the market turns, like it has, those people all scatter and disappear, and you'll see a reduction in the ads for those platforms for a few years. Those platforms start advertising again when the market's up. And it's been up for a little while because of what? They know recency bias exists, and they know you're going to react to it, and they know you're going to believe that because the market went up, you have taught yourself how to trade.
So as a financial advisor, your job is to create wealth for people, but does it also involve kind of teaching as well, would you say?
It's mostly teaching. It's mostly teaching and educating. I mean, it's probably 50% that, and it's 50% building the process, administering the process, and making sure people stick to it.